Hello, everybody. We are Group 1 and we're here to talk about the Old and the New Liberalism in the Philippines. The history of Philippine liberalism dates back to the late 19th century when the country was still under the Spanish colonial rule. The Spanish Revolution of 1868 was a major turning point in the history of the Philippines as the liberal reforms that had been introduced in Spain were also implemented in the country, and that include the abolition of slavery and the introduction of a free market economy. Jose Rizal's liberal-minded writings are the most notable example of Spanish liberalism in the Philippines. However, the period was also marked by a lack of economic development and a lack of political stability, as well as a lack of social and economic equality. As a result, the period of old liberalism in the Philippines ended with the adoption of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which enshrined liberal values such as freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to vote. After the adoption of the said constitution, the country experienced a period of political and economic liberalization with the introduction of new laws and regulations that allowed for greater freedom of expression and the establishment of a more open and democratic political system. This led to the increase in economic growth and development as well as the increase in the Philippines' international standing. In this video, we are going to talk about how we analyze the pros and cons of the old and the new and giunsa namo pag-decide sa among position regarding this topic. After that, we are also going to talk about the current state of liberalism in which the country claims that democratic country ta, but it seems like we are experiencing otherwise.
The Spanish period of the Philippines lasted from 1521 to 1898, and during this time, the Spanish attempted to impose their culture and identity on the Filipino people. This resulted in a period of conflicts between the Spanish and the Filipinos, as the Filipinos sought to maintain their own identity and culture. The Spanish also introduced Catholicism to the Philippines, which is still practiced by many Filipinos today. Ultimately, the Spanish period of the Philippines had a lasting impact on Filipino identity and culture, and the Filipino people are still working to reclaim their true Filipino identity. During the Spanish period of the Philippines, gender roles were heavily influenced by the Spanish colonization. The Spanish introduced Catholicism to the Philippines, which had a lasting impact on Filipino gender roles and expectations. Additionally, the Spanish introduced a patriarchal system of government, which further reinforced traditional gender roles. This period also saw the emergence of the Maria Clara stereotype, which was a representation of the ideal Filipino woman as a submissive and obedient wife. During the Spanish period of the Philippines, the strongman leader was a common form of government. The Spanish introduced a patriarchal system of government which further reinforced traditional gender roles and authoritarianism. Additionally, the Spanish period saw the emergence of the strongman leader, such as Ferdinand Marcos, who was the president of the Philippines from 1965 to 1986. Marcos was a strongman leader who imposed martial law and used authoritarian tactics to maintain control of the country. He also implemented a number of economic and political reforms, such as land reform and the nationalization of certain industries.
The true identity of the Filipino people is a complex and ever-evolving concept. In recent years, there has been a renewed focus on reclaiming the Filipino identity and culture, which has been heavily influenced by centuries of colonization. This includes a focus on the indigenous cultures of the Philippines, as well as the influence of other cultures, such as Spanish, American, and Chinese. Additionally, the Filipino identity is also shaped by the country's history, its people, and its values. Ultimately, the Filipino identity is a unique and diverse mix of cultures, values, and beliefs. In recent years, there has been a renewed focus on challenging traditional gender roles in the Philippines, as well as the recognition of the rights of the LGBTQ community. This includes a focus on the importance of women's rights and gender equality, as well as the recognition of the diverse roles that men and women can play in society. Additionally, there has been an increased focus on the importance of education and economic empowerment for LGBTQ people, as well as the recognition of the importance of care work and the role of LGBTQ people in caregiving. Ultimately, the Filipino people are working to create a more equal and inclusive society that recognizes the diverse roles that LGBTQ people can play. According to the DW article, the Philippines is a young democracy, having only gained independence from centuries of colonial rule in the mid-20th century. However, according to the Wilson Center article, the Philippine democracy has declined substantially since 2016 due to President Duterte's autocratic policies. The military has stayed in the barracks since then, but according to the Al Jazeera article, 50% of Filipinos support autocratic rule in their country. This could be a sign that democracy in the Philippines is facing a challenge from strongman politics.
To answer the question, where will you position yourself between the old and the new? We believe that the traditional liberal values of democracy are important for a healthy society, and that the Philippines should strive to uphold these values. However, we also recognize that the country is transitioning to a more conservative form of government, and that this transition should be managed carefully to ensure that the rights and freedoms of citizens are not compromised. As we all know, the Philippines has a long history of liberal democratic values, but these values have been challenged by the rise of populist leader President Duterte. Duterte has used fake news and excessive nationalism to consolidate his power, and this has resulted in the decline of the country's democracy rankings. Additionally, the Philippines is transitioning to a federal form of government, which could further erode the traditional liberal values of democracy. This suggests that the Philippines is shifting away from the traditional liberal values of democracy and towards a more conservative form of government. Liberalism definitely has its flaws, but it is by acknowledging it is what makes the difference. We believe that a country and its government must protect and uphold the freedom and rights of each citizen in various aspects of life. Even though traditional liberal society promotes individual freedom, this doesn't mean unlimited freedom. There should still be an order in which everyone must consider.
As Filipinos, we have a unique identity that is shaped by our history, culture, and politics. Our identity is not only defined by our sex, but also by our shared experiences and values. When it comes to sex, we have a long history of gender roles and expectations that have been shaped by our culture and politics. For example, in the Philippines, women are expected to be submissive and to take on a more traditional role in the family. This has led to a culture of gender inequality where women are often seen as second-class citizens. When it comes to politics, we have a long history of being ruled by foreign powers. This has led to a sense of powerlessness and a lack of control over our own destiny. We have also experienced a lack of unity as different political factions have often been at odds with each other. However, despite these challenges, we have also seen a growing sense of national consciousness and unity in the recent years. We have seen a rise in the number of Filipinos who are proud of their identity and are willing to stand up for their rights. We have also seen a growing sense of solidarity among Filipinos as we came together to fight for our rights and to protect our culture and heritage. That's why we would like to leave some points for our fellow Filipinos. Number 1, we should strive to be proud of our Filipino identity and to embrace our differences. Number 2, we should also strive to be informed and engaged citizens and to use our voices to advocate for the issues that matter to us. Number 3, we should strive to create a society that is inclusive and respectful of all genders and sexual orientations. Number 4, we should strive to be aware of our privilege and to use it to help those who are less fortunate. And lastly, we should also strive to be open-minded and to listen to different perspectives, be respectful of different cultures, and to recognize the importance of diversity. In conclusion, our identity as Filipinos is shaped by our history, culture, and politics. We have experienced a long history of gender inequality and foreign rule, but we have also seen a growing sense of national consciousness and unity in the recent years. As we continue to fight for our rights and to protect our culture and heritage, we can be proud of our unique identity and the strength that comes with it.